Dynamics NAV since 2000. And what we're going to show you today is an add-on that we developed called Commission and Broker Management, which actually has achieved the certified for Dynamics NAV status. So there's a couple things I would point out to as a start. We designed the system with several ideas in mind, one of which was to really kind of eliminate hours of commission processing and calculations. We've seen that for a lot of companies, the commission structures can get to be very complex, and managing them is exceedingly difficult. And with that, some of the things that make it especially difficult are recognizing and keeping track of kind of different types of documents. For example, issuing credits back on returns and so forth. And ultimately, I think, as you can understand, the goal would be to help companies to create very easy and desirable incentive-based programs that obviously increase sales and help with the profitability of the company. There's several features that I would highlight here, one of which we're going to go into a little bit more, which is we have taken a little bit different approach as to how we have designed the system. We call it a rules-based approach, and I hope that you see that it is a very powerful approach. The system is intended to be a complete solution, and by that I mean not only does it simply calculate the commissions, but also keeps track of the accounting associated with it, including automatically booking expense and liability. And as you go through the process, what you'll see is it even helps to queue up and sweep those commissions to the appropriate subledger so that they can easily be paid. And then finally, it also keeps a historical record of all of the commissions so that you can go back in time and reproduce reports, do statistical reporting, and so forth. There's a couple things that I would just highlight from a technical perspective, one of which is that the system is compatible with from NAV 4 forward up through 2016. So it can be added in very easily into an existing environment. It was designed from the start to be an add-on solution. And so I think we took a little bit more time to carefully lay out how we integrate and try to create what I call a very small footprint on the standard NAV objects. Having said that, I think we can dispense with the PowerPoint and turn our attention to the actual product. I've gone ahead and logged into Dynamics NAV, and you can see here that there is a new module that has been added in specifically for our needs. And if we think about the commission process and how it fits into the standard workflow of your business, it picks up exactly at the point of when documents have been, sales documents have been posted in your system. So the normal sales process is going to be exactly the same. As a matter of fact, your users won't see anything different on the normal sales order entry or sales invoice screens. What will happen from a process flow is that utilizing the rules that you've set up for commissions, you are going to come into a window called the Commission Journal, and you're going to ask the system to find new posted invoices and credit memos that are eligible for commissions. The system is going to find those documents, apply those commission rules, and suggest commissions to be paid. At that point, you're going to have an opportunity to review them. You can actually clear them out if there's anything that looks suspicious or has been calculated incorrectly. But assuming everything looks good, the next step would simply be to post those commission entries, which will automatically book the expense and liability, as I said, and enter those posted commissions into a commission ledger. Then in a second step, which can happen immediately afterwards or on its own time frame, you're simply going to run a batch process, which is going to take those approved but not yet paid commissions and convert them to the appropriate subledger to be paid. And that can be different subledgers depending on how you have set up the salespeople in your system. So for example, if you are used to paying them through accounts payable or a subset of them through accounts payable, the system will automatically convert those commission entries to the equivalent of a paid invoice associated with a vendor in accounts payable. And then if you did nothing else, the next time you did your normal vendor check run, it's going to pick them up and cut a check and complete the process. But before we get to that point, I guess the question is, what things do we need to do to get the system ready or configured to support that workflow? For that, we're going to go into the setup area. And the first thing that we're going to do is to define the salespeople that are eligible or would be eligible for a commission. This actually highlights one of the approaches that we took to minimizing or maintaining a small footprint on the standard system. Those of you who have used NAV for a while will probably recognize the salesperson code field here. What we needed to do, though, was to add a few additional data elements to that salesperson code so that we could complete or do the full processing. Rather than actually modify the salesperson table, we actually created our own table and kind of have done a join here where you can select the salesperson and then add those additional data elements. What that means is there's been no customization to the standard salesperson code. It's that kind of approach that we've taken throughout the system. So what did we add? Well, the first thing we did is we added a commission posting group. And you can see here that you can have as many posting groups as you like. And each posting group basically tells the system what expense and liability account to use when working with this salesperson. So it is possible to have the system automatically post different GL accounts depending on whether, for example, the salesperson is an internal employee or maybe some type of external rep or third party. The next two columns are used in conjunction with each other, and they tell the system which subledger to, through which subledger to pay this particular individual. So you can see here that we have a variety of choices, and if you choose, for example, vendor, then it's going to go to accounts payable. If you're using the Serenic payroll, you could actually associate the salesperson with an employee code, and it would automatically sweep their commissions to payroll. If you're using a third-party payroll processor, then what you would do is select a GL account, which would be effectively kind of a clearing account for the commissions, so that once you actually pay the commissions through that third-party payroll entity, something like ADP or Paychex, and you then record that that payroll process, what's going to happen is you're going to record the commission amount paid, and that will net against the this commission clearing account that holds those kind of approved but not yet paid commissions for an individual. Depending on which salesperson type you choose, the next column then is a window into that particular module. So in this case, you can see that we're associating the salesperson with this particular vendor. For those that do work with external reps, one of the things worth highlighting is you can see that you can actually have multiple salespeople associated with the same vendor. And so what that means is that you are able to keep track of the performance of individual salespeople through that manufacturer rep, for example. But when you go to pay the company, it will produce one check for the combined amount. And you'd still have the ability to send a supporting document that breaks out the performance of each of their employees. The final column simply shows a running balance of commissions that have been approved but not yet paid for that individual. So we've done the first setup step, which is to set up our salespeople. The next thing that we would do as part of the setting up the system is to define our commission rules. And each commission rule answers the same three questions. The first question is, what sales documents are eligible under this rule for a commission? The second is, what salesperson or people are eligible to be paid? And then finally, how is the commission calculated? Opening up the commission rule setup window, you can see here that I have a few sample rules already defined. And if we go ahead and take a look, you can see here that you can assign each rule its own ID and description. Once you have a rule set up, it's very easy to activate or temporarily deactivate a rule without having to delete it. And if we look at this column here, all the way over to this column, it's the combination of these four columns that help us to answer that first question, which is, what documents are eligible under this rule? And how that works is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tell the system whether we wanted to look for matching criteria on the sales document header, so the top portion of that posted sales invoice, or do we want it to actually read through individual lines on the invoice to find the match, or some combination thereof. Now, if we choose type header, like this rule up at the top, you can see here that, and I'm going to move that over a little bit, that it indicates that there is some filters already set. the button, we can see the filter that I've set up. Now, this window here, this filter window, is a standard filter window for 2016, but for every version, that has access to every data element within the posted sales invoice table. So you can actually create filters on any element, or basically set your commission rules based on any criteria that you like. As a matter of fact, this simple one that I did was simply to say this rule only applies when we're working with a customer called the Cannon Group. It is possible to use those advanced filters that you probably have used in other parts of the system. So, for example, you could set a wildcard here, or you could go ahead and use the bar to then select multiples, or you can enter a range, whatever you need to do to uniquely identify that, that record type. And then obviously you can add as many filters as you'd like here. So in this case, if I go back and look at this rule, what I've said is I'm creating a commission rule that only applies to sales for this particular customer, the Cannon Group. Now, alternatively, I could look at a line-based rule like this one here, in which case I'm going to skip the header filter set and look at the line filter set. And in a similar way, I'm going to open up that filter window. The only difference here is that instead of having a view or access to all of the data elements for the posted sales, the top of the posted sales invoice, it's now presenting to me all of the data elements from a posted sales invoice line. And that goes all the way down to even setting rules that may be applicable to a specific item number. So it is possible to have commission rules or commission rates that actually vary per item number. In this case, I chose a category of items that had the posting group code manufacturing and retail. So you can see here is a combination filter. So we've begun to, under each of those, define our rules. In one case, we did one at the header level, and we were looking for a particular customer, the Cannon Group. The second example was at the line level for, based on a category of items. The final column over here in this first grouping helps us to fine-tune our selection. And this is a user-defined code called the commission source code. I've created a few examples here. If we go ahead and open up this window, what you see is that you can give the code the name you want. But essentially what you're going to do is you're going to choose from the two sets of options. The first is the source transaction type. And basically what you're doing here is you're indicating to the system whether or not you want this rule to apply to just invoices or credit memos or both. And then the second column is the transaction status. Now, in NAV language, when they talk about an invoice being paid in full, they refer to it as being closed. And so what you can see here is you can control the timing as to when you want the system to recognize an invoice or a credit memo as being eligible to be paid. If you choose any status, what you're saying is as soon as the document is posted, then it becomes eligible. At the other end of the spectrum, if you say only completely closed, then the document would not become eligible until it has been paid in full by the customer. Or you actually can choose one of the kind of partial solutions. Partially closed would mean that you would become eligible as soon as any portion of it was paid. Or you could say used closed portion, in which case the system will prorate the commission to your salesperson based on the amount that has been paid by the customer. And under this scenario, you could potentially have, kind of multiple partial commissions paid out over time. So if I chose all, basically what I'm saying is I wanted to evaluate both invoices and credit memos, and I set it to any status. So with that, I've answered that first question about which documents are eligible. And the second question is what salesperson or salespeople are eligible under this. And for that, we turn to the commission group. The commission group code is, again, another user-defined data element. You can create and name as many commission groups as necessary. And once you do so, then within a commission group, you would specify the specific salespeople. So in this case, I actually created a commission group called Annette Hill because it basically just has Annette as the only eligible salesperson in there. In a similar way, I may have created one called Sales Manager, and whoever the sales manager is, that would be the person who's listed there. There is one special case commission group, and it's here. And it's activated by selecting this checkbox, Use Transaction Salesperson. And if we create a group and activate that, what we're telling the system is that whoever is listed as the salesperson on the posted sales invoice is the salesperson of record. So basically, this one kind of ties back into the standard process and workflow of NAV. And so this would dynamically fill in or apply depending on who was listed on that posted sales invoice. Now, we might have had one, though, a scenario where we actually want to kind of hard code the salesperson. And if we close out of here and look, back on our example of a customer-based rule, it could be that the reason we're setting this up, specifically saying that whenever we sell to the Canon Group, we have a specific rule, is because maybe in our company, whoever is the person that brings in the account owns the account. And in that case, whether or not Annette Hill, in this case, was included on the posted sales document or not, whenever we have a sale, basically, she earns her commission. Conversely, for this product category one, what we're saying is, if we find an eligible document, whoever that salesperson is that is listed up at the top on the sales document, that's the person who earns the commission. The hard coding also allows us to do some other things. Say in our example here, in our company, we have several salespeople and we have a sales manager oversees all of them. Now, he or she may never actually be directly listed as, as a salesperson on that document. However, his or her compensation package says that, she gets a small percentage of every sale that comes in, regardless of who sold it. And so it's possible, if I activated this line, you can see here that I don't have any particular filter set. It's a very broad rule, and so that sales manager is going to get a commission automatically on every posted document that comes through the door. That leads to one other thing that I think is worth saying, which is if you have multiple rules that are activated, such as this, it is possible, depending on how you've configured the rules, to actually have multiple commissions generated from a single posted invoice document. So you could set it up to pay different people, just like I have done here, including like a sales manager and an account manager and so forth. Now, with that, we've answered the second question. So the only remaining question is how do we pay, or how do we calculate the commission? And for this, we have yet another code called the calculation method. I actually happen to set up my codes reflecting the kind of the primary percentage that is to be paid on that under that rule. But this is an alphanumeric field, as you can see here, and so you can put in whatever description you want. Within here, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to indicate what type of commission you are creating. If it's an amount-based one, then basically what you're saying is it's a percentage-based commission. Alternatively, though, you could have a quantity-based one. This would work particularly well for a line-based rule, such as paying a fixed dollar amount for every each unit of an item, specific item that is sold. Now, if we choose the amount one, then we're going to specify the percentage here. If I had selected quantity, I would skip over the percent, and I would put in a flat dollar amount. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to indicate what is the basis for this calculation. And you can see here that we have two types, gross and net. When we say gross, we mean gross sale amount, or actually, the actual sale amount of the invoice or the particular line item. Alternatively, though, you could select net, and if we choose net, we're really referring to the gross margin. So it is possible with our system to have the calculation be based on the gross margin and not just on the gross sale amount. After that, there's a couple of additional optional things to help adjust the base amount for the calculation, should it be inclusive or exclusive of things like discounts, sales tax, and so forth. We do have another option here where you can set up a code, we call it an adjustment code, where you can actually further refine or adjust the basis for the calculation of the commission to be inclusive or exclusive of certain ancillary things. The example I give here is the credit card one. For this particular one, what's been set up is that this 5% is to be paid, but only on the gross sale amount after first deducting the 3% credit card fee that the customer was charged us when the customer paid by credit card. So if the customer pays by credit card, then the system will automatically adjust it down, that sale amount down by 3%. Finally, we can set an upper limit if you had a maximum amount to be paid. If you leave it at 0, it's just going to be a straight percentage regardless of the amount. So once we've set those up, we assign one to the rule. And basically now we've answered all 3 of the questions. And really from this point forward, we're ready to go. There are a couple other things here. You see that you can set a document from and to date. So you can specify effective dates based on the sales document date for a particular rule. That becomes very handy if there's a change in your overall commission structure. You can go ahead and enter the new rules without touching the existing rules. Just put an end date on one and a start date on another, and then the system will automatically flip over and begin to calculate those, applying the new logic for you automatically. And also that these from and to might be very handy if you had some type of a seasonal promotion. So let's go ahead and see how this works in practice. So we've done our setup, and normally you would do this just at the beginning. I'm going to deactivate and just kind of focus on one line because I think we're going to get plenty of suggested commissions just with that. And if we want, we can come back and look at others as needed. So in the normal processing, the user is going to come into this area, come up to the commission journal, and you can think of this as a worksheet. When you first open the window, it's empty. And the first thing the user is going to do is come up and click on Calculate Commissions. There are some filter options that the user can select, but those, for the most part, are not required. The system is smart enough that once you have processed a commission for a posted document, it's going to skip it for you automatically. It's not going to reprocess that invoice. Let's go ahead and hit OK. And you can see here that the system has gone through, read through posted invoices, posted credit memos, and found eligible documents based on the rules that we set up, and then simply calculated the commission here. So let's take a quick look at what it's done for us. It's assigned a document number and a posting date. Obviously, it tells us who the salesperson is. It shows us the kind of the original sale amount, the source amount, and then if we had selected any of the adjustments that we talked about before, things like including or excluding discounts, we might see that this commission base amount would differ slightly from the source amount, but in this case, the basis matches. We'll skip over this one and go to the calculation method. You can see here it tells us what method it's found as a match and is using for the calculation. It shows us the actual percent and then ultimately the actual commission to be paid. Now everything after this is essentially reference information for you to help review and preview these things. So you can see here that it's telling me from which posted invoice it found it, who the customer was, and actually since this was a line-based rule, meaning it had read through the actual sales line, it even tells me the line number where it found the match. Now if I need to do some more investigation, I can click on this Show Source, and it's going to drill me back into the source document, and you can see here there's the line and the match that it found. Now, one or two other things. You can see over here on the far right that it has a entry generated by, and it's assigned to system. And what that means is these lines were created based upon those commission rules that we have set up automatically. And to ensure that, I guess you have kind of a good audit trail, if it's a system-generated rule, and for some reason you needed to adjust the commission amount, it's not possible to edit that amount. Instead, what you can do is simply go down to a blank line, enter in the salesperson. In this case, you'd probably overwrite the description, like repay cash advance. And then come over here and enter in the amount of adjustment. And you can see here that the system is going to tag this as of type user. And aside from that, this entry will get posted to the commission ledger just like all the others. So this is very handy if you do need to make some adjustments for some reason, like the one example I give there, or if you did have some kind of maybe special compensation that didn't follow your normal commission calculation, perhaps maybe like a one-time discretionary year-end bonus, you can simply come into this journal and enter these lines and either as a positive or negative amount and post those through, and they will be included and processed the rest of the commissions in the system. You also see here that the system did find some matching credit memos because of the way that I had set up the rule, and it's, these would be returns, something like that came back in, and it's automatically adjusting the commissions, the total commissions to be paid. One other thing that's particularly nice about this window is that, say for example, I set up a new rule, and this is the first time I've run this, and when I do, I realize that I didn't set it properly, and I, have some erroneous amounts. Up until the time that I post this, all of these are fully editable, so I can simply come in here, delete the lines. I could go back into my setup window, the commission rule setup, make whatever adjustment I want, and then come back and rerun that process to simply recalculate the commissions. Now at some point, hopefully very quickly, you will determine that everything looks fine, and the final step in this window would simply be to hit the post button, at which point the system will go ahead and post these entries to the commission ledger, as well as posting that commission expense and liability to the GL for us automatically. I'm going to hold off on posting these for the time being in case we want to create some different scenarios or people have questions about and want to see something rerun. I want to make sure that I have some good data out there. But let me show you what the output is. If I come down to history, you can see here that we have a commission register. And if I go ahead and select a register and view the commission ledger, this is actually the result of the posting. And I think what you see here is that we have preserved all of that information that you had in the commission journal. We keep track of, who got paid, what documents, the amount, and so forth. And we also even have that kind of one-click drill through so that you can get back to the source document if you need to do some research after the fact. Turning back to our processing, the second step in the process would be to convert the commissions to pay. And as I said, this is simply a batch process that you can run immediately after you run the commission journal and process it, or you could set them up on different time schedules. You might, if you have a large number of commissions that get calculated or processed each week, maybe you want to review them on a weekly basis and approve them that way. But maybe they only get paid once a month or once a quarter. And so you could come in here and run this on a regular basis. And then just before you're ready to pay, you would run this batch process called convert commissions to pay. And if I check this box and then print or preview this document, it's going to automatically sweep those commissions that have been approved but not yet paid to the appropriate other ledger. If I want to preview it, I can uncheck that, and I can put in a temporary document number and hit preview. So it looks like I've got nothing in this case. Everything's been processed for me. But that's essentially all you're going to have to do to go ahead and complete the process. After that, for each one, and we can go ahead and take a look. Once you've run the process, the documents are placed in the appropriate module, already posted for you and queued up, ready to go. And from that point forward, they're actually processed and work exactly like native transactions. So we have this vendor here, and you can see the result of running that batch process for this particular vendor. And basically, it's gone ahead and queued up that amount as a posted document. And like I said before, if I did nothing else, then the next time we go through the normal vendor payment process, it's going to evaluate this entry just like any other entry in AP and pull it in, have a check cut against it, and then close out the process. The final thing that I would highlight is we do have kind of a super report that can be modified or run in a couple different forms. And what this report allows you to do is to obviously produce a list of all the commissions that have been processed and approved. And as you can see here, these lines actually maintain all that same information. So this report can be distributed to each person. There was an option on there to do a page break for each salesperson, so they're ready to be distributed. And in doing so, each salesperson is going to see exactly which document was paid, even down to the line number, how it was calculated, and then the actual amount. And obviously, this is kind of a vanilla report. If you were distributing this, you could go ahead and put a logo on it or modify it to use maybe some of your industry-specific language. And that kind of leads to the final thing I would say from a technical standpoint, which is all of this was written entirely in the NAV development environment, and all of the objects are open objects, which means that they can be further modified or customized to your needs. And with that, I would say that I have completed kind of the process and gone through the whole system. And I would wind up and pause here and see if people have any questions.
Excellent. All right, William, that was wonderful. On the right-hand side of GoToWebinar, you're going to see an area that says questions. I encourage you to type in a question that you would like to ask and or put in your name, and I will unmute you if you'd like to ask verbally. Sometimes it's easier to do that. As of right now, I don't see any questions in the queue. One question I have for you is getting engaged with you. We know that there's a number of folks here at Interdyne BMI that work with clients, and they would be your first point of contact to talk and learn more about this solution so that we could investigate what you're looking for and then set up a call with William or someone from his organization. In preparation of having those discussions, William, what are some things that folks should maybe jot down or come prepared to discuss?
Sure. One of the things that I would highlight, obviously, you know, the question is going to be how well does the system support each client's particular commission structure. And while I think and hope that you see that the solution that we've developed is exceedingly flexible, one thing that I think we've learned over the years is that there is no one solution that can handle every commission structure and scenario. And so I think part of it is going to be to kind of determine whether or not our solution is the right one for you or a client. And so having maybe a pretty good sense or beginning to kind of document how the commissions are paid, the different types of structure and so forth, that obviously would help, because we can then take those, run through some examples, tailor a presentation just like I've done here to that client's particular needs, and even include some of the specific you know, examples or commission rules for that client so that they can validate that it is going to work for them.
Excellent.
One of the other things that you'll notice is that our solution is what I refer to as kind of a transaction-based solution. And that is, you know, there's a specific or a subset of commissions and commissions that are calculated that match this type of processing. What I mean by transaction-based is that each of the commissions are calculated based off of a particular posted invoice. In contrast, you might see some that a commission system that, or a commission structure that is what I might call kind of target-based or periodic over, you know, I guess is dependent upon achieving some goal over a particular period of time. And for that, you know, what you're really seeing is the rule kind of looks at a group or a bundle of documents within a time range or of a certain type, and then makes a determination. That is not supported out of the box by our solution. You can see that ours is really going kind of invoice by invoice and evaluating each one. So those would be a couple things that I would say. With respect to how people can reach out, we do like to, you know, work through each organization's partner because they are uniquely aware of everybody's particular needs and customizations. And you can contact us, and we would be happy to, as I said, put together a presentation that is tailored to, a client's particular needs.
Excellent. Well, I've been in the sales routine for, gosh, close to 40 years now, and everybody does things a little bit differently. So I love that you are willing to do that service to take what they're doing today, and then also learning from someone like yourself as that expert on some best practices, because sometimes I feel with commissions and all, it does get overly complicated. So it's really kind of nice to have you as that subject matter expert to give some advice too. I do have another question in the queue, and it is does the solution work with Serenic Payroll?
Yes. Yep. And that is where we kind of touched on it very briefly. But when you set up a salesperson, you can link them to a particular record type. Vendor was the one we focused on today, but employee was also listed. And if you select employee, that one ties back into the Serenic Payroll. And actually, what we do is we utilize, or we have, I guess, documented how you can set up in Serenic different, I guess, payroll controls to receive the commissions. So when we sweep those, the system will automatically populate that the commissions to be paid for that individual employee, and then in the next payroll run, it's going to go ahead and include those on the paycheck for you automatically.
Excellent. All right. Talk to us a little bit about the service end of it. Once I've made a decision to work with you on your solution, what does it look like on implementation and training?
Well, we do provide, the objects are available and can either be merged or implemented by BMI or by us. We do offer a fixed cost integration. It's a pretty simple process, and we've got it down so we could do that as a fixed fee. And then after that, we talk about kind of training and setup. This, as far as the amount of time and so forth to kind of get the system set up and ready to go, I'm kind of reminded of the game with the slogan that it takes a minute to learn and a lifetime to master, or something like that. And what I mean here is that you can see that as far as setting up the commission rules, there's everything that we went through today essentially is everything that a user would need to set up a new rule and begin to process it in the system. And so the training for it actually is probably a half day or less. And depending, and then it depends on how many rules and how complicated people's systems are to determine how much time is really required for the additional setup. If people have a pretty flat commission structure, their entire commission structure may be represented in a couple of rules, and they could, that could be done immediately and probably rolled out within an hour or two. Alternatively, if people have very complex ones or ones that vary by, every conceivable thing, like every customer or every item combination and so forth, the system will handle it, but it could be, many different rules in the system. And in that case, it could take a little bit of time to set up and so forth. It's all done through the normal interface, so that is something that, end users can do. And one of the things that really helps on that is back on the commission journal, where as you're setting up new rules, you can kind of get immediate feedback on how how they're going to work, and if you've set them up properly, by going into that commission journal, hitting the calculate button, reviewing, checking the results, and the nice thing about it is if it's not the way that you want it, you can simply delete those lines, go back, make an adjustment to the rule, and rerun it. So that's where I was kind of I don't know, I shouldn't say lifetime to master, but where you could spend time working up and getting everything going on just the way that you want.
Excellent. Last question in the queue, and then that will conclude the questions here today. And it is, can this solution be used for managing rebates to customers who hit a certain volume of sales in a period?
Yes, the short answer is yes. And I think what somebody saw on that, if we I'm going to go back in, is that when we look at setting these up and we look at what the module through which something should be, a commission should be reimbursed, you can see here that, yes, we went ahead and included kind of all the logical options, including a customer. And so if you had something like, if somebody earned a certain percentage back each time on each sale, or maybe even if you had, you worked with manufacturer reps, and the way that they earned their commission was that they actually submitted the order to you, and then you would kind of discount that amount or issue a commission, which could be either paid via check or applied as a credit memo against some other one. Then you can go ahead and simply select customer, and the system will automatically create a credit memo back to that customer for the the rebate or the commission, something like that. And in another way, this even could be used. We've had people who use this system for things like paying royalties on something and helping to calculate that, because in some ways it's similar to a commission. It's just another kind of derivative transaction. When each time an item is sold, a particular item, then you need to generate some type of payment, and you can set up or determine through what mechanism you want them paid. But I think you could see through the commission rule setup that you could create a rule that would automatically calculate that for you. So yes, this is used not just for straight commissions, but for any kind of what I call derivative transaction off of a posted document.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today in this education. And again,